Captain Sarah Chen stood at the helm of the Terran colony ship Horizon, watching the swirling patterns of hyperspace fade into the stark blackness of normal space. After 2 years of travel, they were finally approaching their destination. Kepler 186f, humanity's first attempt at an extrasolar colony. The ship carried 10,000 colonists in cryo-sleep, along with everything needed to establish humanity's first foothold among the stars. Final approach vector calculated, announced Navigator James O'Neill, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. We should be entering orbit in approximately 43 minutes. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Years of preparation, countless resources, and humanity's boundless determination had brought them to this moment. But that smile quickly faded as emergency alerts suddenly blared across every console on the bridge. Multiple contacts. Lieutenant Rosa Martinez called out from the sensor station. Massive energy signatures. Captain, we're being surrounded. Before Sarah could respond, a dozen ships materialized around the horizon, their sleek crystalline hulls gleaming in the light of Kepler 186. They were clearly of alien origin, their designs defying human engineering principles. The largest of these vessels, easily dwarfing the horizon, moved to block their path to the planet. First contact. Sarah breathed, her heart racing, but her voice steady. All stations, maintain current course. No aggressive actions. Open all standard communication frequencies. The response came almost immediately, not in radio waves or any electromagnetic spectrum, but directly into their ship's computer systems. The alien text flowed across their screens, the ship's AI rapidly translating it into English. AT eaten to lion nrejistred D vessel. UAVENTERED restricted space. Your species AHAs BBE and QUA or ANTYNED for TA safety of the Galactic community. Return to your system of ORIGN. IMEDATLI. Deathworld. O'Neill muttered. What the hell does that mean? Sarah straightened her uniform, squaring her shoulders. Open a channel. Let's introduce ourselves properly. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that seemed to be made of crystalline formations and swirling energy. Its voice resonated through the ship's speakers with an almost musical quality. I am High Commander Ixel of the Galactic Quarantine Fleet. Your presence here violates multiple provisions of the Sentient Species Protection Act. Your planet has been classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. Your evolution in such an environment makes your species inherently dangerous to civilized space. Sarah blinked, processing this information. Commander Ixel, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth colony ship Horizon. We mean no harm. We are peaceful explorers and colonists. Peaceful. Ixel's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been amusement. Your species evolved on a planet with crushing gravity, lethal levels of oxygen, extreme temperature variations, and constant exposure to radioactive solar emissions. You digest toxins for pleasure, deliberately expose yourselves to harmful radiation for cosmetic purposes, and regularly engage in activities that risk permanent physical damage for entertainment. Your very biology is an affront to galactic safety standards. Sarah fought back a laugh. You mean we're quarantined because we're too tough? Your species can survive conditions that would kill most sentient life forms. You regenerate from injuries that would be fatal to others. You can process nutrients from substances that would poison most species. And most disturbing of all, you appear to thrive on challenge and adversity. Such traits make you fundamentally incompatible with galactic civilization. The bridge crew exchanged glances, a mix of confusion and indignation on their faces. 10,000 colonists slept in the decks below, their dreams of a new home now threatened by the very traits that had allowed humanity to reach the stars. Commander, Sarah said carefully, those same traits you fear are what allowed us to survive and evolve into a spacefaring civilization. We've learned to channel our resilience into exploration, innovation, and the betterment of our species. Yes, we come from a challenging world, but that has taught us to adapt, to solve problems, to persevere. Ixal's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been uncertainty. Your optimism regarding your genetic curses is precisely what concerns us. You view deadly conditions as challenges to overcome rather than warnings to heed. It is for the protection of all species that you must return to your quarantine zone. Sarah felt her jaw tighten. And if we refuse? Those colonists down there trusted us with their futures. We've spent years preparing for this mission. We can't just turn around. Then you leave us no choice but to demonstrate why your kind must be contained. Ixal's form pulsed with energy. Target their propulsion systems. Prepare for forced retrieval. As warning shots from the alien vessels lit up space around them, Sarah's mind raced. Everything humanity had feared about first contact was coming true, but for reasons no one could have predicted. They weren't seen as primitive or technologically inferior. They were feared for being too capable, too resilient, too human. All hands, battle stations, Sarah ordered, her voice clear and determined. But hold your fire. There has to be a way to prove we're not the monsters they think we are, and we're going to find it. The horizon hung in space, surrounded by vastly superior alien vessels, its crew facing an impossible choice. Retreat to Earth in shame, or somehow convince an entire galaxy that humanity's greatest strengths weren't a threat to be contained, but an asset to be valued. The next few moments would determine not just the fate of their mission, but humanity's place among the stars. The next 48 hours aboard the Horizon felt like a diplomatic tightrope walk. Captain Chen had managed to negotiate a temporary ceasefire, but the colony ship remained surrounded by the Galactic quarantine fleet. In the ship's main conference room, Sarah sat across from 3 alien representatives, each more bizarre than the last. Commander Ixal's crystalline form dominated one end of the table. Beside them floated Ambassador Nax, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental field. The third representative, Security Director Vrel, appeared to be a collection of metallic spheres that constantly rearranged themselves into different configurations. Your proposal is unprecedented. Ixal's translated voice chimed through the room's speakers. No quarantine species has ever challenged their classification. Sarah leaned forward, her expression determined. Then let us be the first. You fear our capabilities. Fine. Test them. Prove to yourselves that we can control our abilities and use them responsibly. The metallic spheres of Vrel shifted into what might have been a contemplative pattern. The standard testing protocols were not designed for species with your extreme tolerances. Then design new ones, Sarah countered. You say we're too tough, too adaptable. Make that work for you. There must be planets, situations, or challenges in your territory that even your most advanced species struggle with. Let us help. Ambassador Nax's energy form pulsed with interest. The void peaks of Nalthus have remained unexplored due to their extreme conditions. No known species can survive there long enough to establish research stations. The methane storms of Crix-9 have destroyed every automated probe we've sent. Vrel added, spheres clicking together thoughtfully. Ixal's crystalline structure shimmered. You would willingly subject yourselves to conditions that we consider unsurvivable. Sarah smiled. Commander, my species climbed Mount Everest because it was there. We dive into ocean trenches, explore volcanic caves, and dream of terraforming Mars. Challenge isn't just something we endure, it's something we seek out. The aliens conferred among themselves in frequencies beyond human hearing. Sarah waited patiently, knowing this could be humanity's only chance to prove their worth to the galactic community. Finally, Ixal spoke. We propose the following. 3 challenges on 3 different extreme environments. If human representatives can survive and establish functional outposts in these locations, we will reconsider your quarantine status. Additionally, Nax's energy form brightened, Success would grant humanity limited colonization rights and the opportunity to assist with similar challenges throughout governed space. Sarah felt a surge of hope, but kept her expression neutral. What are these challenges? Vrel's spheres projected a holographic display of 3 planets. First, the ice world of Kristallos, where temperatures never rise above -200 degrees Celsius and methane storms can strip flesh from bone. Second, Nax continued, the volcanic moon of Pyrox, with its rivers of liquid metal and toxic atmosphere. And finally, Ixal concluded, the gravity well of Titan's Forge, a super-Earth with surface pressure that can crush standard starship hull plating. Sarah studied the projections, her mind already racing with possibilities. What resources would we be allowed to use? Only technology or species has already developed, Vrel specified. No borrowed or traded equipment from advanced civilizations. Standard emergency supplies, pressure suits, basic tools, Ixal listed. Nothing that would artificially enhance your natural capabilities. Sarah stood, her decision made. I accept these challenges on behalf of humanity, but with one condition. I want my colonists awakened. If we're going to prove ourselves to the galaxy, we should do it as a community, not just a single ship's crew. The aliens seemed startled by this request. You would risk your entire colony population. Nax pulsed with concern. Not risk, involve, Sarah corrected. Among those colonists are engineers, geologists, atmospheric scientists, and survival experts. They chose to leave Earth to face the unknown. They deserve the chance to help shape humanity's future among the stars. After another conference, the aliens agreed. Within hours, the massive cryogenic storage chambers of the horizon hummed to life. As colonists began to awaken, Sarah addressed them through the ship's communication system, explaining their situation and the challenges ahead. The response was everything she had hoped for. Instead of fear or anger at finding their original mission derailed, the colonists approached their new task with enthusiasm. Teams began forming immediately, analyzing the data on their challenge worlds and proposing solutions. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the colony's chief engineer, was already sketching designs for reinforced habitats. We can modify our existing prefab structures to handle the pressure on Titan's Forge, she explained during the first planning session. The principles aren't that different from our deep-sea installations back on Earth. Marcus Wong, their environmental systems specialist, pored over atmospheric data. The methane storms on Kristallos. We can use them. Set up the right collectors, and that's fuel for our generators right there. Even the children of the colony got involved, their natural adaptability showing as they suggested ideas their elders might have overlooked. 10-year-old Amy Foster pointed out that they could use the extreme gravity of Titan's Forge to test materials for future construction projects, turning the challenge into an opportunity for innovation. As Sarah watched her people prepare, she realized they were already proving what she had tried to explain to the aliens. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't just their physical resilience, it was their ability to see opportunity in adversity, to transform survival into progress. The alien representatives observed these preparations with increasing interest. Remarkable, Nax commented. They appear to be enjoying this. Of course we are, Sarah replied. You've just given us 3 new worlds to explore, 3 new challenges to overcome, and a chance to prove ourselves to the galaxy. For humans, that's better than any colony site we could have planned. As the Horizon prepared for its new mission, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The aliens had meant these challenges to test humanity's limitations. Instead, they were about to discover exactly what happens when humans are told something is impossible. The surface of Kristallos lived up to its name, an endless expanse of crystalline methane ice stretching to the horizon. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the airlock of their modified lander, double-checking the seals on her extreme environment suit. The temperature readout showed -238 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze oxygen solid. Remember, her voice crackled through the team's comm system, We've got 90 minutes before the next methane storm hits. Let's make them count. Behind her, Marcus Wong and 3 other team members prepared their equipment. They were the first of 3 teams sent to establish humanity's presence on this hostile world, while similar groups prepared for deployment to Pyrox and Titan's Forge. The alien observation vessel hovering high above them transmitted a warning. Human expedition, your environmental protection appears inadequate for these conditions. We strongly advise withdrawal. Elena smiled behind her faceplate. Protection noted. Control. Proceeding as planned. She turned to her team. Ready? Born ready, Marcus replied, hefting a drilling unit designed for Antarctic ice extraction. Though I have to admit, this makes the South Pole feel like a beach vacation. They stepped out onto the surface, their boots crunching through layers of exotic ice. The sky above them was a deep purple, occasionally lit by lightning-like discharges from the upper atmosphere. Their suit cameras transmitted everything back to both the horizon and the alien observers. The first hour of work proceeded methodically. They drilled core samples, set up automated weather stations, and began assembling the framework for their first shelter. The aliens watched in bewilderment as the humans worked efficiently despite conditions that should have killed them instantly if their protection failed. Think they're impressed yet? Marcus asked as he calibrated a methane collector. Or are they still waiting for us to dissolve into puddles of frozen human? Elena was about to respond when their perimeter sensors blared a warning. Storm incoming, she called out, 40 minutes ahead of schedule. The horizon had turned black, with an approaching wall of methane snow and ice crystals, sharp enough to shred their suits. Standard procedure would be to retreat to the lander. But Elena had other plans. Everyone to the frame, she ordered. We're deploying the shelter now. The structure isn't fully anchored. Marcus protested even as he moved to help. The storm will tear it apart. Not if we anchor it ourselves, Elena replied. Form a circle. Use the suit's magnetic clamps. The team linked together around the partial framework, activating powerful electromagnets in their boots and gloves. As the storm hit with devastating force, they became human pylons, their combined weight and magnetic grip holding the structure in place while automatic systems deployed emergency shielding. In the observation vessel, the aliens watched in horror as the humans disappeared into the maelstrom of methane ice. Human expedition, your life signs are fluctuating. Ixel's concerned voice came through. Return to your vehicle immediately. Elena ignored them, focusing on maintaining her grip as the storm raged. Structure integrity at 60%. She called out, hold steady. For 15 brutal minutes, the team endured conditions that would have pulverized most materials in the known galaxy. Their suits' power reserves dropped dangerously low as the magnetic clamps strained against the storm's fury. But they held. When the storm passed, they stood in a circle around a fully deployed emergency shelter, its systems already processing the gathered methane into fuel and its sensors confirming a stable internal environment. Shelter deployment successful, Elena reported, her voice tired but triumphant. Beginning interior setup ahead of schedule. The aliens were silent for a long moment before responding. Your team nearly died, Ixel finally stated. The storm exceeded safety parameters. Why did you not retreat? Marcus laughed as he helped check the shelter's seals. And waste all that perfectly good methane. Do you know how much power we can generate from what we just collected? Besides, Elena added, now we know exactly how much force these storms exert. We can build better structures, stronger collection systems. Every challenge is data. Every problem is an opportunity to improve. As if to emphasize her point, she pulled up displays showing the shelter systems coming online one by one. The methane collected during the storm was already being converted into fuel, while excess energy from the process helped heat the interior to a comparatively balmy -100 degrees Celsius. Impossible, one of the alien scientists muttered. They're not just surviving here, they're starting to terraform it. Elena smiled as she conducted final checks on their new outpost. "With all due respect," she replied, "impossible is what humans do best. Now, who's ready to start installing the hydroponic garden?" The first challenge was far from over, but humanity had made their statement. On a world that should have been completely inhospitable to life, they weren't just surviving. They were beginning to thrive. Back on the horizon, Sarah watched the data streams with pride. Similar reports were coming in from Pyrox, where another team was using the liquid metal rivers to power experimental forges, and from Titan's Forge, where the crushing gravity was being harnessed to create ultra-dense construction materials. "Still think we need to be quarantined?" she asked the alien representatives. Ixal's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been embarrassment. Perhaps we need to reconsider our definition of dangerous." 3 weeks into the challenges, alarms blared across all 3 test sites simultaneously. On the bridge of the horizon, Sarah Chen watched in confusion as emergency signals flooded in from across the sector. The alien representatives' reactions told her this wasn't part of their test. "Multiple spatial anomalies detected," Ixal announced, their crystalline form flickering with distress patterns. "The Kryvax nexus is destabilizing." "The what?" Sarah asked, but her question was answered by the viewport suddenly filling with swirling tears in spacetime, each one spewing radiation and exotic particles that made their sensors scream. A forbidden technology. Naxx's energy form pulsed erratically. Ancient weapons from the last Convergence War. They were supposed to be contained, but the containment fields are failing. If the Nexus fully destabilizes, the rifts will spread. Vrel's spheres clustered tightly in anxiety. Dozens of worlds will be exposed to conditions even we cannot survive. Millions will die. Sarah's mind raced as she processed the information. "Our testing sites. They're in the affected sector." "Yes," Ixal confirmed. "We must evacuate your teams immediately. No species can survive direct exposure to interspatial radiation." Sarah opened a channel to all 3 human outposts. "Status report. All teams." Alina's voice came through first, breaking up through interference from Crystallos. "The anomalies are affecting our methane storms. They're getting stronger, more frequent, but we've adapted our collectors to handle it." From Pyrox, Chief Engineer Davidson reported through the sound of roaring metal storms. "The liquid metal is becoming unstable, but we've reinforced our containment fields. We can hold." "Titan's Forge team here." Dr. Patel's calm voice cut through static. "The increased gravity is actually helping shield us from the worst of the radiation. We're stable for now." Sarah turned to the alien representatives. "You said this nexus needs to be contained. How?" "The containment facilities require physical maintenance," Vrel explained. "But the ambient conditions are now far too extreme for any known species to survive long enough to implement repairs." Sarah felt a familiar smile spread across her face, the same one she'd worn when they'd first been called too dangerous to join galactic society. Any known species except, perhaps, ones evolved on a death world. The alien stared at her. "You cannot be suggesting." "Elena," Sarah called over the comm. "Your team's suits, they're handling the interspatial radiation." "Better than expected," Elena replied. "The same adaptations we made for the methane storms work against the spatial distortions. We could theoretically survive direct exposure for up to an hour." "That's impossible," Ixal protested. "The radiation levels are roughly equivalent to what we dealt with during the Chernobyl containment project back on Earth," Elena cut in. "Different type of radiation, same principles of protection." Sarah's smile grew wider. "Sounds like humanity just found another impossible problem to solve. Send us the containment facilities coordinates and technical specifications. We'll handle it." What followed was a masterclass in human adaptability. Teams from all 3 outposts contributed their newly developed technologies. Elena's group provided radiation shielding adapted from their methane storm protection. The Pyrox team contributed cooling systems designed for liquid metal that could keep the repair crews alive. From Titan's Forge came reinforced materials that could withstand the spatial distortions. Within hours, a human repair crew had been assembled and equipped. They called themselves the Impossible Team, a joke that the aliens didn't quite understand, but that made perfect sense to anyone from Earth. Sarah watched from the horizon as the repair shuttle approached the massive containment facility. The structure itself was beautiful in a terrifying way, a massive crystalline sphere surrounded by swirling tears in reality itself. Beginning approach, Elena reported from the shuttle. She'd insisted on leading the repair team personally. Radiation levels are, well, they're pretty bad, but we've seen worse. You have 20 minutes before exposure becomes lethal, Ixel warned. Even with your enhanced protection. Then we'll do it in 15, Elena replied confidently. Humanity's specialty is getting things done in just slightly less time than we're told is possible. The repair operation was a testament to human ingenuity and sheer stubborn determination. While spatial anomalies raged around them, the team worked with precision and speed that left their alien observers speechless. They didn't just repair the containment systems, they improved them, incorporating elements of their own technology to strengthen the fields. Final sequence complete. Elena reported 14 minutes and 30 seconds after they'd begun. New containment fields are online and holding, adding our methane storm-derived buffer layer now. And there should be about 300% more stable than the original design. Across the sector, the spatial anomalies began to fade. Dozens of worlds that had been on the brink of disaster found themselves safe, protected by technology that merged ancient alien engineering with human innovation. Back on the horizon, Sarah turned to the alien representatives. Still think we're too dangerous to join Galactic society. Ixel's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been embarrassment. Perhaps we were looking at this wrong from the beginning. We saw your ability to survive extreme conditions as a threat. But it's precisely that ability that allowed you to save millions of lives today. Nax continued, their energy form glowing brightly. Your species doesn't just survive adversity. Vrel added, spheres arranging into a pattern that suggested admiration. You seek it out, learn from it, and use it to help others survive as well. 1 month after the Kryvax Nexus incident, the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council looked very different from its usual formal arrangement. The traditional seating had been modified with reinforced chairs that could support human physiology. The atmospheric controls now maintained a mix comfortable for oxygen breathers. Most notably, the chamber was packed with representatives from hundreds of species, all gathered to witness something unprecedented. Sarah Chen stood at the center of the chamber, flanked by Elena Rodriguez and her other team leaders. Behind them, holographic displays showed the transformations their teams had accomplished on the test worlds. Crystallos now hosted a thriving research station, its methane storms harnessed for power. Pyrox's liquid metal rivers powered manufacturing facilities that produced materials previously thought impossible to forge. Titan's Forge had become a testing ground for revolutionary construction techniques. High Counselor Ixel's crystalline form sparkled as they addressed the assembly. We gather today to acknowledge a grave error in judgment. The quarantine classification of Earth and humanity was based on fear of capabilities we did not understand and could not control. But recent events, Ambassador Nax continued, their energy form pulsing brightly, have shown us that what we feared as dangerous was, in fact, exactly what our galaxy needed. The very traits we sought to contain have proven to be invaluable assets. Security Director Vrel's spheres formed into a formal pattern. Therefore, by unanimous decision of the Council, Earth's classification is hereby changed. No longer will it be designated as a quarantine death world. Instead, it shall be recognized as humanity's cradle, the origin point of a species uniquely qualified to help us explore and survive the most challenging frontiers of our galaxy. Sarah stepped forward. On behalf of humanity, we accept this recognition, but we also have a proposal of our own. She gestured to the displays, which shifted to show new images, humans working alongside various alien species, teaching them survival techniques. learning from their technologies in return. We don't want to simply join your civilization, Sarah explained. We want to help expand it. Those worlds you've labeled as too dangerous to inhabit, we can help you survive there. The phenomena you've deemed too hazardous to study, we can help you understand them. Elena took over, her voice filled with enthusiasm. Every challenge we've faced has taught us something new. The methane storms of Christos led to breakthroughs in energy collection. Pyrox's extreme conditions sparked innovations in material science. Even the gravity well of Titan's forge helped us develop technologies that could revolutionize space construction. But more importantly, Sarah continued, we've learned that our greatest strength isn't just our ability to survive. It's our drive to turn survival into progress, to transform hostile environments into new opportunities for growth and discovery. The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives debated this proposal. Some species were clearly still nervous about humanity's capabilities, but others were already coming forward with requests for assistance with their own impossible problems. A representative from a gas-based species floated forward. My people have long dreamed of establishing research stations in the corona of our sun, but the conditions were too extreme. We can help with that, Elena replied immediately. The heat shielding we developed for Pyrox could be adapted for solar conditions. Another delegate, their crystalline form similar to Ixal's, spoke up. There are quantum storms in the Helix Nebula that we've never been able to study up close. Sounds like a job for our modified storm-chasing equipment, Marcus Wong called out from behind Sarah. When do we start? As request after request came in, Sarah felt a profound sense of rightness. This was what humanity had been preparing for all along, through every disaster and challenge they'd faced on Earth. They hadn't just been learning to survive, they'd been learning to help others survive too. Ixal raised their appendages for silence. It seems we must create an entirely new classification for Earth and its people. No longer a death world to be feared, but rather a crucible world, a place where the very difficulties of survival forged a species capable of thriving anywhere and helping others do the same. Sarah smiled. We have a saying on Earth, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But perhaps we should add to that, what makes you stronger can help you protect others. The formal reclassification ceremony that followed was brief by council standards, mainly because the human representatives were already eager to begin working on their new projects. As Sarah watched her people networking with various alien species, sharing ideas, and making plans, she realized that humanity had found something better than just a place among the stars. They'd found their purpose. The quarantine ships that had once blocked Earth from the galaxy were now being refitted as exploration vessels, staffed by mixed crews of humans and aliens working together. The test worlds that were meant to prove humanity's limitations had become training grounds where different species learned from each other. And Earth itself was being studied not as a danger to be contained, but as an example of how adversity could forge unprecedented capabilities. As Sarah prepared to return to the horizon, now designated as the flagship of humanity's new outreach program, she shared one final thought with the council. You know, when we first launched this mission, we thought we were just looking for a new home among the stars. Instead, we found out that our real mission was to help make the whole galaxy feel a little more like home, for everyone. The crystalline chambers of the council sparkled with new possibilities, and somewhere, on a planet once labeled too dangerous to inhabit, humans and aliens worked side by side, turning the impossible into reality, one challenge at a time.